Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, this New Year's Eve, the lovely moderators over at the Motown Noah Discord, link is in the description, are going to be hosting a game night. Go hang out for a few hours, chop it up, talk some ball, talk some shop, play some games, and ring in the new year with the lovely community, with the moderators over at the Motown Noah Discord. You guys have done a phenomenal job of creating a sense of community in there, and I've had so much fun just chopping it up with you guys. So again, link is in the description. Now back to the video. Yeah, it's super self-explanatory, actually. We're just going to be going through every single team in the league. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm going to give short little quips about what I like about the team, maybe what makes them watchable, what endears me to them. Well, let's start things off with the Atlanta Hawks. I got a text from Rusty a few weeks ago, and he goes, you got a Hawks take? How do you think this thing's going to play out? I think Trey's a lifer. I think what I said to him is I'm excited to see what that haul could look like, but I think that the Hawks are too close to being good. I know I had the take that they were going to be a 3 seed. Probably owe everybody a video on that, maybe revisiting it, but that's not today. And I don't really think that I don't think it's a DeJounte problem. I remember people were getting up in arms because they're like, I thought he was an almost triple-double a year ago, and now he's rebounding the ball less, and he's passing the ball less, and he's scoring the ball less. It's like, yeah, well, because there's more mouths to feed. Also, it's not like, I think we just kind of had this warped idea of DeJounte just in the sense that, that's just always who he was. It's not. It was the reason he was an all-star last year. It was because it was like, wow, look at how good he got really fast. So if I'm a Hawks fan, I'm thinking, well, all the dudes on this team are maybe with the exception of John Collins. Well, I don't know. There are a lot of expendable guys on this team, but if I'm looking at the DeJounte Murray thing, I'm thinking, well, if worse comes to worse, at least we'll have this as a bargaining chip if we need to restock the cupboard and, picks, or if we need to go get a different guy or something. I think if it doesn't work in Atlanta, it's not because of DeJounte Murray. Final thing, for years with this Hawks team, I refused to watch them because of the neon with the Volt in the uniforms. It was disgusting. I had a visceral reaction every time I turned on the games. It wasn't fun for me. Now they've scaled things back a little bit, sometimes even gone a little more vintage and a little retro, and at least just, if nothing else, from an aesthetic perspective, I like them. The Boston Celtics, I don't know, some dangerous accusations going around about the Boston Celtics right now. I heard from a little birdie, maybe coaching doesn't matter. Maybe. No, but that's what people are saying, right? You fire Ime Udoka. You're a championship team. You think, oh my God, what's going to happen now? And then you realize, oh, our coaches, is it just a lot of ego management and emotional babysitting? Sometimes. Unless you ask the next team, which is the Brooklyn Nets, maybe coaching does matter. Jacques Vaughn, another coach, Steve Nash gets fired. You think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen here? There's a myriad of things going on with Brooklyn over the last few months when basketball isn't being played, right? You think, how is this going to play out? KD requests a trade, and then everyone's like, what the fuck? What do you want us to do with this? What do you want us to give Brooklyn? And Kevin's like, that's valid. That's fair. And then they start to get it together, and they get into the swing of things. And I tell you what, man, when it works with Ben Simmons, it's really easy to believe. I know it's also equally easy to get jokes off about him, but I promise, man, he had a game a few weeks ago. I'm already forgetting who it was against. I want to say it was the Clippers. I don't think it was that, but he had 20, and when it works, it works. I give him a lot of credit, too. Not just Ben Simmons, but the entire team. I think it was Edmund Sumner the other day was like, look, man, once we got into the swing of the season, and it's a lot harder to keep up with the headlines every single day about what's going on because, the season eventually consumes you, right? When it's October, it's you still got some overhang from the offseason. Bro, we're going into January. We are in the swing of the season. These dudes are just boom, 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 boom. They're just playing basketball every day. So that makes the outside noise, it's a lot quieter, right? And to their credit, they've really embraced that and are playing unbelievable basketball. The Charlotte Hornets, let me say this about Mark Williams, dude. I don't know what his deal is. And look, I'm a Pistons fan. I have Jalen Duren at home. It's fine. He's probably bigger anyways, and I think he's better. Mark Williams is just Jalen Duren light, but Mark Williams is still awesome. And it's every time he's on the floor, it's a perspective thing. You think he can't possibly be that much bigger than everybody, as if he's just closer to the camera and everybody's further away, but everywhere he goes, he's just abnormally huge. And another thing that he does is when he's around the rim and he's he kind of does this thing where he hops, but it's almost like he ties a hand behind his back, and these little tip-ins that he does, it's he's so keen on his spatial awareness that he's not going to pick up a foul around the rim trying to either collect an offensive board or tap it back in. And it's his effort and it's his energy that I really, really like watching him play. The Chicago Bulls. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, if you're a fan of Destiny 2, and admittedly I believe I've made this joke before, Evan Mobley is essentially the NBA's equivalent to the Leviathan. He's a world eater and a world beater and nothing else. That is nothing else if not fantastic. And I don't like to do victory laps on here. It's not really my thing. But if there was anything that I've ever been right about, I remember exactly where I was. I was standing in a Forever 21 when the James Harden trade happened. And he went to Brooklyn, and there's all these little moving parts. And wow, what's going on here? Oh, the Harden trade happened. Cool. Remember seeing Harden? Wow, okay. All these pieces going all these different places, right? And it wasn't until I saw the Jarrett Allen piece going to Cleveland that I gasped and I said, that matters. That right there, that matters. Guess who ended up being right? Me. Did it take more than like a orangutan brain to figure that out? Yeah, actually, kind of. Because Jarrett Allen was one of those dudes in Brooklyn who was like going under the radar for way too long for no reason other than he was playing for a team that people didn't really care about unless D'Angelo Russell was there and they were exceeding expectations. Like, yeah, people cared about Brooklyn at the end, but it wasn't the Jarrett Allen show. It was the D'Angelo Russell show in terms of narrative. I'm spending too much time on this. Darius Garland has proved me more wrong than anybody in NBA history. He's fantastic, and his fashion is impeccable. And Donovan Mitchell is happy. Nice. Ooh, the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, list. Let's do another thing that Nick was right about. I said it. I remember it. I remember where I was when I said in 2017, man, watching that Dallas team, and I'm thinking, I think they're just like a 6'7" Slovenian away from really competing for this thing. You know what I mean? I really could not have been more right about that one. Denver Nuggets. This one's for you. I gotta tell you, man, this Jokic guy is so good. Jokic is so good that he has effectively erased my Denver sports bias. And I know that there are going to be some Colorado residents out there going, "What the hell did we do to you? Why are we catching what's the collateral here?" It's honestly just because of the Avalanche. Just don't like the Avs. I've always hated them. Never really cared about the Rockies. Right? The Nuggets were cool. Melo, J.R. Smith, of course, Birdman, come on. The uniforms, of course I loved those Nuggets. The Broncos, it's like, you want me to root for Russell Wilson? Tim Tebow was cool. Peyton Manning, whatever. Sure. But you know what I mean? And I love it. Also, you guys have Jeff Green, who is the perpetual Motown Noah All-Star. Uncle Jeff. Yes, he's going to do the Statue of Liberty dunk until he's 85. You have Jeff Green. Nice. The Detroit Pistons. Yeah. If you want my thoughts on them, you'll have to go to the Bun and Cardigan Show, presented by The Athletic, available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Golden State. Okay. Christmas Day. There were like 2 games that I really cared about. I was really indifferent towards that entire slate. I cared about the Milwaukee game, and I cared about the Golden State Memphis game because, as a lot of YouTubers have begun to point out recently, credit to them, they're right. There is sort of this rise maybe in some rivalries in the NBA. Maybe some teams are kind of starting to hate each other again. Maybe some players are actually kind of starting to do this again, and it feels nice, right? So you think Golden State and you think Memphis, and that was an awesome game, a win that Golden State absolutely needed. They've won, as of this recording, I think 3 straight, and it's all in the absence of Steph, right? And it's so nice to see this Golden State team who is sort of on the, when I say they're on the tail end of their dynasty, I only mean because they've been doing it for so long and at some point the tail end has to start, right? So I don't mean they're like going down, but for all intents and purposes, right? So when we're starting to see an influx of these younger guys, Patrick Baldwin, Jordan Poole, James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, when the Warriors have to rely on them to win a lot of these games, it's really fascinating and really, really cool to see a lot of them rising to the occasions when they need to, because Lord knows they need it really bad. The Houston Rockets. The Jabari Smith thing has been really fun, and I think one of my favorite things that he does is there's these little kickouts. Sometimes it's a dribble handoff, and he'll catch it right above the break. And dude, he does the same shit every single time, but it's a bucket every single time. He catches it, and he'll go to his left, he'll go to his right, but it's the same thing. It's shoulder, not a jab, but a shoulder, and then bucket. It's money every single time. Additionally, Jalen Green, weight room. Dude, his physique has been awesome. He's playing so much more calculated and sort of measured. The way that this is coming to me in real time. The way that we've seen De'Aaron Fox kind of like not mellow out, but it's just not as sporadic. And I hate to just rehash measured and calculated, but that's what it is with De'Aaron in Sacramento. Like Jalen Green just took like 1 year of being like, blah, 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 and it working, and then was like, okay, why don't I do something different? I don't know. I'm having fun watching him too. The Indiana Pacers. If you bring up the Pacers in the year of our Lord 2022 or year of our Lord 2023, you are going to have to mention the Tyrese Halliburton and the Sabonis trade. We were talking about it actually in the Motown Noah Discord the other day. Again, link is in the description. In terms of how you view it, I still don't really think we're ready to do that. And we'll still talk about this a little bit when we get to the Kings. I think maybe we want to wait until we've played like a season's worth of games with each guy on either team before we start to do it. But regardless, Halliburton has been amazing for the Pacers. Halliburton's dad is like a really fun little side character that you can go hang out with. Buddy Hield hit the fastest three recorded in NBA history. Honestly, can you think of a more like, yep, that makes complete sense guy to break that record? You have Ben Math, a guy that like everybody in the NBA was like, fuck, I wish my team could draft him this year. I just had to cut this out because it sounded insane when I said it, but I have to say it again. The Pacers can outpace anybody in the league. And then I realized, oh my God, is that why they're called the Pacers? Is because they knew that it would culminate to this moment where they just have somebody like, blah, 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 blah. What the hell's going on with TJ McConnell though? He's really had some struggles closing some games. The Los Angeles Clippers. We talked earlier about how I had a garbage take about the Hawks potentially being a 3 seed this year. Wrong. Don't remember what my Clippers take was. I think I said NBA champs, book it, probably something like that. If nothing else, I think that one's panning out a little bit better, I think, because they're hitting a lot of threes, playing great basketball recently. Paul George has been exceptional all year. The Kawhi thing has been kind of weird, but when he plays, you're like, okay, we're getting there. If I'm a team playing the Clippers on any given night, like there's an 80% chance that Zubats is going to just terrify the opposing bigs. Like I'm really trying to think, like really think about it. How many centers are you like, yeah, dude, he's outclassing Zubats on the boards 100%? A couple. Well, a couple. The Los Angeles Lakers. The Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, so the Christmas Day thing definitely kind of throws a wrench in the spokes, but I tell you what, I love that the Grizzlies are like, okay, fine. We'll be the shitheads of the league. Even though, like, how often are they in the wrong? Ooh, there's a fun little mental exercise. I don't want to go down this road right now. Matter of fact, can I just say this about the Grizzlies? This will be my point about the Grizzlies. Nike announces the Ja 1, okay? And I got to tell you, dude, there was a period, some of you are going to remember this, it wasn't that long ago, in the mid-2000s, the mid-2010s, and even kind of into the late 2010s. Dude, it didn't matter who you were getting a sneaker. No matter who it was, no matter what brand it was, you were going to get your own signature sneaker. And it became so oversaturated with just garbage. Like, I miss when it was the early 2000s. I'm sorry, God, what's going on with me? When it was the late 2000s, you had Kobe, Bron, KD, and they'd throw out like the What The series. I miss when All-Star sneakers mattered. I say all this just to say that Ja Morant deserves that sneaker, and I'm so happy that Nike truly did shelf the idea of just fucking handing them out, and they waited for somebody who deserved it, and that person was and is Ja Morant. Up next, the Miami Heat. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, Bam Adebayo has been sneaky one of my favorite players in the league for a while. Literally just on the strength that he is one of the more insane interior passes that we've seen from a dude of that size. And I hate that, like, because Jokic exists, because he has a pulse, if a big makes passes and you go, my God, he's a really good passer. Like, he's one of the best passers in the league for a big. Well, Jokic exists. Well, Joel Embiid exists. These guys are anomalies. These guys like aren't real. They're not human, okay? It's not insane just because a big only dishes out like 5 assists. I'm sorry he didn't put out 65, 93, and 27. What do you... The KD thing, man, he just settles into those jumpers from the top of the key, just effortlessly. From the elbow, he'll ride the screen, he'll take the DHO, and it is so fluid, and it goes in all the time. The Milwaukee Bucks, I would love to do the Bucks thing, right? And we sit here, we talk about it, we bump elbows, and we reminisce, and we talk about how much we all love Milwaukee, but I know I'll be here for 10 or 15 minutes, and this video's already going to be pretty long. So I got to tell you, man, I think it is the most closely knit team in the league. And I think when you look at all these rosters, and some of them are newly constructed, right? Like you look at the roster in Minnesota, one that we'll get to in just a second, but it's really new, right? And there are some negative consequences, naturally, of having a new roster. But also when you're trying to win, like Minnesota, we're not doing Minnesota. We'll do that in just a second. But this Bucks team, they've been together. The main core has been together for long enough. You know, Drew, this is what technically is year 3. And it's like, you know what, man? At the end of the day, they have, by the approximation of most, the best player in the world on their team, a top 3 player in the world on their team. So that gives them the advantage of, hey, every single year for a better part of a decade, at least this decade, they are going to be in the same breath as title contenders. Yeah, okay. Minnesota Timberwolves, the Minnesota thing. The D'Angelo Russell football comments about Zion, for those who missed it, he was basically like, Zion's playing a completely different sport. He's playing football. Like, what are we supposed to do? Yeah, look, people were getting like weight room jokes off about that. Really? Really? Is that really? I don't know, man, because I know, at least for me, every single time that Detroit plays the Pels, or I'm just, happenstance watching a Pels game, and I see Zion doing that drop step, and then bam, just on the entire arena, I get pissed. I'm like, what do they want us to do? Like, what do they want? So I found it to be kind of like humanizing, and it just made me feel empathetic. Like, yeah. Okay, so they feel that way too. It's not just me. But anyways, look, this is a really new roster, and it's not even about like is the Rudy Gobert thing working or is it not working? The roster is just too new. There are too many dudes that Chris Finch can't do anything because dudes are getting hurt like every other game, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns, right? Whether it's Taurean Prince, whether it's Kyle Anderson, no matter who it is, this Timberwolves team is having a really hard time staying afloat. And look, I said this earlier, and in retrospect, I kind of hate that I led with this, but I said if the Hawks wanted to use a get out of jail free card with DeJounte Murray and like cash in on something else, just kind of re-roll the dice, the Timberwolves have more than enough to do, okay, we have these 4 guys. I haven't mentioned Anthony Edwards, by the way, who's fucking hilarious and amazing. But we have these, 4 guys that we feel comfortable with. This is who we want it to be. You would have a remainder of like 2 or 3 guys that you could be like, okay, we can go get something with this. You know what I mean? So is it going to work this year? Hell no. But I don't think Minnesota is like forsaken. The New Orleans Pelicans, a.k.a. apparently the best team in basketball, I guess, right? Which... it's weird because when you look at it, you're like, Zion. Yeah, that makes sense that the Pels are really good. Oh, and they have CJ McCollum, the guy who's been like the most consistently good 3-point shooter for a decade now. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Who else do they have? They have Brandon Ingram, like arguably the matchup nightmare from hell. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Who's like their glue guy? Who's like their little gritty, like, go grab this rebound? It's Jose Alvarado. What the... Jose Alvarado's on this team too. Like, yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, the Pels are really, really good. The New York Knicks are bizarre because Julius Randle will finish a game with 43, right? And then roided up Ish Smith, Jalen Brunson, will finish with 31. Emmanuel quickly will get 26. The Knicks will have a 38-point first quarter, but then they'll get smacked 62-46 in the paint and lose by 15. And you're just like, wait, huh? Just kind of the essence. Score a lot of points, try really hard, make a lot of guys play really, really big minutes, and then lose. The Tibbs formula. Oklahoma City Thunder fans, you guys are going to be the subject of like a 4-part docuseries by ESPN or HBO in a few years whenever there's like a reset culturally in basketball on how we value draft picks, right? The league will eventually do something to change the format of the draft. And there's a chance that the value of draft picks goes up. But my assumption would be that the intent would be to make it, to devalue them so that a guy like fucking Sam Presti doesn't exist, right? Because this constant hoarding of picks and extending the time frame, and it's crazy because if you ask Thunder fans, they're like, dude, we've only technically been doing this for like 2 years. And then you're like, that's not true. And then you look at it and you're like, wait, this is true? It's just that Sam Presti has been so consistently good at stockpiling for so long that I think it's like this Mandela effect that's tricked us into thinking that the Thunder have sucked forever, even though obviously they haven't. I'm just thinking, because when I think of them, I'm like, yeah, they've been horrible for like 6 years. It's like, dude, the Chris Paul bubble thing was like 2 years ago. Huh? The Orlando Magic. Okay, so I'm empathetic towards Orlando fans because they did the same thing as Detroit for a really, really long time that we did with Andre. They just did with Vucevic, right? You're trying and you vote your guy into the All-Star game because he's putting up these bullshit stats, and you're going 41 and 41 every single year, and then eventually you're just kind of like, okay, can we just like do a complete rebuild? And I give the Magic a lot of credit because they got ahead of the game and they said, we see you, Victor Wembanyama, but we don't want to wait. We don't want to mess around, lose a bunch of games around here just to rely on Mark Tatum pulling out a ping pong ball. So they went and got Bol, dusted their hands, and called it quits. Also, Mo Wagner. Look, I'm a Michigan State fan, so I hate to be the guy who's like, I've been dealing with this longer than you. But most of you, yeah, I've known about Mo Wagner's shenanigans for a really long time, and that he has a really strong predilection for stirring shit up. But here's the thing about that. What if he was playing for my team? What if he was a Piston? What if he went to Michigan State? Ooh, I'd probably like him a lot. He's just an agitator. No, that's just our gritty guy. That's just our glue guy. You love that type of player when he's on your team, but because most of the time he's not going to be on your team, you hate that guy. So until he's on my team, Mo Wagner, fuck off. Philadelphia 76ers. I'm just happy Joel Embiid is like playing legit good, clean minutes. Seems like he's doing okay. Like, haha, I'll knock on wood, like whatever. But he's great. Definitely going to work his way into the MVP candidacy if he's not already in there, which I know for some of you guys, he will be. Additionally, I'm looking at a guy like Tobias Harris, and I'm thinking, good for you, dude. Like, I just think of him as a Sixer. Now, finally, I'm not like, oh, that's Tobias Harris. Like, yeah, he played for Orlando and Detroit and the Clippers. He's playing for all these different teams. It's like, okay, I just view him as a Sixer now. And maybe this is weird on my part. I'm just happy that he has like a home. Maxey, of course, amazing. The Harden thing. I'm sorry, just in terms of like him wanting to leave or not wanting to leave. It's just kind of an eye roll. It's just kind of an eye roll for me. I don't know. My Phoenix Suns take would be, just embrace it. Oh my God, stop being such divas. Just be a villain. It's okay. It's cool. Every sport, every year, every little league needs a villain, okay? Whether you guys want to do it as individual players like Devin Booker, I legit think, from just like a PR perspective, if he just went like full heel, dude, he would be unstoppable. Like, I hate doing this, like dipping your toe in the water, like doing shit that like invokes a reaction where people are going to be mad at you and then calling those people lame or like annoying. It's like, dude, I don't know. Like, that's what made the Trae Young thing cool, right? In New York, is everyone was like, fuck you, Trae Young. And Trae Young was like, that's cool. Let's do it. This is cute. I like this. Let's mix it up a little bit. I know that it would be a lot more fun for me from a narrative standpoint if they were just like, if they just like did the bad boys thing, but like don't be the bad boys and be like lame and copy us. But like, you know what I mean? The Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard a few weeks ago was like, well, yeah, Steph is the greatest shooter of all time, but can I be second? Can I be number 2? I remember sitting on that one for like a week. I think so, actually. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I have no problem with it at all. I know I talked about Portland a little bit ago in a video, and how the Jeremy Grant thing is going. And I think that, the only reason he's as good for Portland right now is because he had those 2 years in Detroit to kind of figure out what it means to be a number one, not the number 4 or the number 5, right? So making that switch, betting on yourself, going from tertiary to number 1, he showed that he can do that. Now, how do you sort of peel it back a little bit while also maintaining the same characteristics? And Jeremy Grant has done a phenomenal job of that this year and is shooting the shit out of the ball from 3. Also, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way because I really like him. I can't believe Anthony Simons is just like a 20-point a game guy. Actually. For the Sacramento Kings, again, did make a video about them recently. I would kind of divert you over there because, not a lot has happened, but in recent news, Sabonis, I guess, is doing his best Matthew Stafford impression because team doctors were like, and then Woj was like, yeah, your thumb doesn't work. I'm thinking 4 to 6 weeks in recovery. And Sabonis was like, 4 to 6 weeks? Well, how many games is that? They're like 20 games. It's like nothing crazy. It's like a quarter of the season, but it's only like 20 games. And he was like, well, I can't do that because we need to win games now. And the doctors were like, you got to go sit down. And Sabonis was like, we gotta win now! San Antonio Spurs thing was weird, man. Had a lot of people, they started, 5-2? And people were like, Spurs video, talk about the Spurs, talk about how good the Spurs. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I believe that. And then they lost 100 games in a row. Yeah, that's funny. But in brighter news, Keldon Johnson, I think it was Ryan Russillo, had a tweet about this. I don't remember who it was. He was like, I don't think Keldon Johnson is just like a good stats, bad team guy. I think he's just good. And I full-heartedly agree with that. Additionally, if I'm a Spurs fan, it's interesting the way that the stars have kind of aligned on the Jakob Poeltl thing, or as LeBron would say, Jacob Puddle. What did he call him? That was insane. Poeltl might be like the sneaky, darling of the deadline. If your team, if you see the Woj notification come through and it's like, oh, Jakob Poeltl was just traded to Team X, and it's your team, you're going to think did we just win the trade deadline? The Toronto Raptors are a really weird one. Because if you just rewind the clock 3 years, remember when the whole Masai Ujiri thing was he's literally the best GM maybe in North America? What he's done with this team has been incredible. What the hell happened to that? Where did all that go? Now people are just kind of back to, I don't know, Sam Presti, or Daryl Morey. Am I just not seeing what happened to the train there? It's been a tough year for them. 3-point shooting kind of doesn't exist. Rim protection isn't great. Hey, maybe that's a team for Jakob Poeltl. Honestly, if you went to the Raptors, I think that would be pretty significant with OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. I like that team a lot, honestly. I still think Scotty's a star. OG's great. We don't need to do the Pascal thing again. Fred VanVleet might have a sneaky Hall of Fame case. I think just one of the more fun, bulldog sort of point guards in the league. All right, we're approaching the end here. 2 left, Utah Jazz. Look, they can outpace anybody. If you give them the opportunity, the Utah Jazz have enough dudes on their team who have enough basketball experience and enough skill and enough talent and enough, want to just fucking murder you. It's insane. If you give the Utah Jazz an inch against your team, they're going to take you a mile. Let's get to the last one. The Washington Wizards. DeLon Wright, defensive wasp. Really, really enjoying watching him play. Whether it was Detroit, whether it was Sacramento, whether it was Washington, the Kuzma thing kind of bums me out because that still just feels like a match made in heaven to me. Hopefully something happens there and it gets fixed. And honestly, it's good that we're ending with the Wizards because it means that I get to say something about just one of my favorite players in the league for one specific reason, Rui Hachimura. And the reason is because a few years ago, like I always mention, if you find me talking about the Wizards, you hear me talking about Rui, it's probably because I'm mentioning when his testicle exploded in Detroit. I say that only to say, brother, does it feel good to watch him go out and put up 30 and finally start just putting the thing in the damn net. Finally. And it's not like he's doing anything crazy, man. Like, he's not putting up a bunch of threes, but when he does, his mechanics are really nice. Man, that net, it just rips the net every single time. But what I love is when you watch him post up, he will stand still. He will not move. He will stand still, put a hand up, and stare at you. It's bizarre. I'm not being funny right now. It's just what he does. And then if he doesn't get the ball after like 2.5 seconds, he'll just do a quick roll, or he'll get the ball and he'll just do a little turnaround. Rui Hachimura got a lot of shit in his bag, and I love him. Hey, there you go. Every single team in the NBA. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tell you what, kind of weird not having like a very clear path on a sign-off here, because I wasn't talking about any individual team. You know, I tell you what is also in the Discord. It's pinned in the movies topic. I put my Oscar predictions up there. Yeah, go check that out.